My name is Kayla, author of Journey of Faith. This is Sickle Cell Sunday. This Sickle Cell Sunday, I am so happy that I get to have incredible moms of sickle cell warriors here getting to tell their story of what it is like to be a mom with a child with sickle cell disease. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
And Jennifer.
All right, thank you so much. And can you tell me what kind of sickle cell your children have?
Well, my son is Aiden. He has AC.
And I have two daughters. They have both have SS.
SS and SC, both sickle cell, but do have different complications. Would you mind sharing the difference between SC and then SS?
With SC, um, it's not as severe as SS, but it is critical. It's pretty much, the same treatment that you would use if a child or an adult had SS. But like I said, it's not as severe.
Mm-hmm.
You would be able to more explain.
Well, I think one of the common denominators of all of the sickle cell, whether it's what is it, thalassemia,
Yeah.
SCSS, is pain crisis. I think that comes with all of them for the most part. Um, but SS, you can have an array of things. I also have a sister with SS, and it can cause retina myopathy, I think it's called, where your retina detaches. It can cause blindness, it can cause strokes, it can cause pain crisis. Um, it can cause chronic hypoxia, where your oxygen level is always low in your body, which damages your major organs. So the list goes on. And even if you're a man, I forget what it's called because I'm not a man, but with men, it can cause them not to be able to have an erection. So it's so many different things that can come along with SS, and each person doesn't get all of the symptoms. Sometimes people might have, you know, like Kayla, she's had strokes. My youngest daughter, she has pain crisis and chronic hypoxia, but either type of sickle cell anemia, it's still very I don't know what word to use, but it's a lot. It's a lot on a parent when you're dealing with a child who has any type of illness, whether it's sickle cell, whether it's diabetes. It's a lot. What's been the hardest part, I think, for you with Aiden?
Say the hardest part is being ignorant. When he was first diagnosed, I would say about maybe 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I got the news. I did take it hard, you know, and it put me into postpartum,
Mm.
which I struggled with for months, and it's not easy to, say to your mom, your husband, your kids, like, I realized that this is what I'm going through because of this.
Yes.
And I guess I would say I secretly dealt with it as best as I could until I couldn't.
Yeah.
Um, I would say with Aiden having SC, the first 8 months of his life, he was in and out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
During that period, I had to become self aware because I really didn't know what I was dealing with. I was just going off base of what the doctors told me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty much anything that came in the house, he got it. And once he got it, we were admitted into the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, his pediatrician, his hematologist, and his oncologist told me that I had to put him on amoxicillin. He has to take amoxicillin 5 mLs twice a day until the age of 5. That's when I had a problem.
We're
Um,
laughing because that's so familiar with
oh,
me.
okay, okay. Because I was just thinking, basic common sense, common knowledge, why would a child have to take antibiotics up until he's 5 years old? I, I mean, it's an antibiotic. You're supposed to only use it for a certain amount of days, correct? And I didn't feel comfortable with it. But I did do it for the first couple of months and then I stopped. I started to give it to him periodically as needed. And I remember um, going to his um, hematologist appointment and they were doing the basic tests, his hemoglobin level, height, weight, everything. And they were like, okay, he's doing really good. So I said, okay, great. So she then proceeds to say, well, are you giving him the amoxicillin every day, twice a day? I was like, no.
Right.
And she looked at me and I'm like, well, why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah.
And she was, I mean, she almost broke down into tears. She said, you have to give it to him. You must give it to him. We had a child that just passed away a few days ago from sickle cell because he wasn't getting the right preventative, as they would say, care. And I sat there and I looked at her and I said, well, it's an antibiotic. It's not something, it's not for long term use.
Yeah.
And you're telling me to give this to my son for years. It doesn't make any sense. And she said, but he has to because he has sickle cell. He has to. And then I just found myself in a place where I was talking to God. I heard her, but I was talking to God. And I was like, I'm not going to allow this lady to force me into anything.
Yeah.
If it's so good, why are you forcing me to do this? If this is the procedure, if this is going to help my son, why are you forcing me to do this? And I said, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to give it to him. I will give it to him as needed. What I did start doing was, and they give you the iron pills to give them to crush it up in the milk and all that stuff. I was doing that as well. I stopped doing that. Okay, he's a baby. He's not going to eat spinach and broccoli and the green leafy vegetables that we're supposed to take, right? So I continued to just started, I was buying the puree, spinach and apple and fruits and all baby food. I never stopped. I just kept doing that. And I noticed that he wasn't really getting as sick as quick as often. And I was like, I might be onto something. Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So I kind of, stopped giving him the amoxicillin and all that stuff. And I want to say, I think we went to the appointment. This was last year, maybe last year, April. We went to his hematologist, and you have to see the nutritionist, the oncologist, the hematologist. Sometimes the appointments are like 2 hours long.
Forever.
Yeah. And the nutritionist came in, and they're doing their chart. What is he eating? What is he having? Does he have milk? And I was like, well, no, he doesn't have milk. No, he doesn't have that. And she was like, well, what about vegetables? And I said, well, it just so happened he asked for a pouch in the middle of the doctor's appointment. And I took out the pouch and I gave him the pouch. And I said, this is what I give him. And she looked at it. She was like, wow, Mom, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I said, I am?
Yeah.
She said, yes. She said, I have no complaints. Continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the same thing ever since. Aiden has not taken antibiotics since maybe last November.
Wow. That's what's up.
And we all had the flu. And we were struggling. Now, I will say, a sickle cell child, it does take them a lot longer to get over the sickness. So we got over it pretty quickly. It did take him a good, I would say, 3.5 weeks. All I gave that baby was zinc and elderberry. I didn't give him the amoxicillin.
Yeah.
And he was just fine.
Yeah.
So I just say that to say, I'm not saying don't trust the doctors. Research it for yourself and figure out what's best for you and your family.
Right.
Find some kind of system that works. Don't just go off of what the doctors say. And of course, get a second, maybe a third opinion or whatever. But the natural remedies work.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely would say natural remedies work, but we laughed when you mentioned amoxicillin because I may have had a run in with a few doctors, when the girls were smaller. Um, they as well, even at their age, we're talking 20 plus years ago,
Hmm.
put them on amoxicillin or the penicillin, make sure they
Penicillin,
take it,
yeah.
and went to a doctor's appointment. They asked me, I know I'm not doing that. I said, why not? Because she's going to be resistant to antibiotics when she really needs it. So she went into the hospital for the first time at 5 months old, and she had to have a spinal tap. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and all this. So that's when we started the penicillin. And then, kind of like I started to sit down and think. So y'all really don't know what's wrong with her because if I'm giving her penicillin, then it's covering up whatever it is. So they treated her for meningitis, but you don't really know what's wrong with her, right? And so that's when it was kind of like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I love Shoa. Shoa was like absolutely amazing, even though I had a run in with a few doctors, so I got to the point where I wasn't going to give it to him. And a doctor and I had it out. She called it it's called social worker on me because they said, and I had to sign a piece of paper that said if I refuse to do the treatment that they're suggesting and something happens to my child, then I could legally be held liable for it.
Wow.
I said I'll sign it. And it's even to the point where you we can't. Doctors are great, especially if they're going to couple holistic, you know, therapy on top of whatever their medical therapies are. But I remember one time going to the doctor and she has very small veins, right? And they stuck her and they stuck her and they stuck her and they had to strap her down to the table and she's screaming and hollering, I hate you. I told them, I said, listen, get your best phlebotomist that you have in this hospital. You have one more chance to try to save my baby. One more chance. And so they was like, okay, okay, just give her some time, give her some time. And it was probably a couple of hours that went by. They brought somebody in there. They had my baby strapped to the table. You would think I wouldn't be about it now with her being the age that she is. But you remember these things don't
They
escape
don't go
you. They
away.
don't escape you. So you're talking hands and feet strapped to the table and she's screaming and hollering. And there's nothing that as mom you can really do at that point. And so God tried to do it. They couldn't get it. So give me the discharge papers. We're going home. And we're not going to do this. I'm not going to allow you guys to keep treating my child like she's a pincushion. And they said, are you refusing treatment? Yes, I am. Get the papers. I'll sign it. I'm taking my child home. So it's been a many a times where it's like, no, I'm not going to let y'all sit up here and do this. Even when we got to the point of like the brain surgeries and stuff that she's had to have, really being okay with having this one-on-one conversation with the doctor. I'm not going to roll over just because you got a PhD up under your name. Because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, if my child dies, you're going to go into another patient. I'm going to be the one that's with the law. So we're going to have some conversations, right? And
Absolutely.
that's just the way that I've learned to deal with doctors over the years and trying to get your children as they get older to become advocates for themselves. That's the
Hmm.
other part of it. It's like, you don't have to be disrespectful, but I'm gonna need you to boss up, right? Because this is your health and this is your body. And I'm thankful that she has gotten to a point now where she'll be like, yo, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. But it's just gosh, it's a challenging road having a child with just any type of illness. Um, any type. I had a lady to ask me because it tends to be a question that I know that some people want to ask and they don't. But then it's a question that some people ask just, straight up. And it was like, well, why would you have a second child? Because both of my daughters have sickle cell anemia. I had a nurse just last year when she had open heart surgery to ask me that. I was offended, right? Because first of all,
Mhm.
it ain't none of your cuss word business. But
Mhm. Mhm.
but it
Mhm.
was just one of those things where I just thought the odds would be in my favor, honestly. 25% chance, her dad having the trait, I'm having the trait, and she has the disease. So the second child is not going to come and she's not going to have the disease. But sure enough, she was born with the disease. So although in a perfect world for me, I probably would have had about 4 kids after the second one was born with sickle cell anemia. My husband, we decided we're not gonna try this again because she already was having her complications and then didn't know what the second child with the complications was going to be. So that cut me off with 2 children. I could have had about 2 or 3 more, but y'all,
It's okay.
I know
God
the
knew it was best.
I know the feeling. It's like I'm looking in the mirror, listen to you speak, because this is my boyfriend, and he wants to procreate. Um, he doesn't. Well, at first, he didn't really know the severity of sickle cell, but he took the time out to learn about it. And he even went a step further. He went to go and get tested to make sure that he doesn't have the trait. He doesn't have the trait.
Awesome.
Yeah, but he
Awesome.
did that all on his
Awesome.
own, you
Awesome.
know?
Awesome. That's what's up.
And he's experienced, what happens when Aiden gets sick at different times. And he's been there every time,
That's
you
what's up.
know?
That's what's up. That's
You
that's
want to
that's
say
hats off to you
something?
with that.
I'm not so worth taking in information from both your perspective and how it can impact the family life and just how strong you guys are, women are, that you guys are flowers.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy, but like I said, you guys do what's best for y'all
Yeah.
kids versus what a doctor's telling you. Sometimes whatever she wants to go with, I support her decision because I'm as team. And when she thinks it's best to get amoxicillin, we go and if she's gonna get a breakout, she's more proactive about it. But like I said, it can be challenging, to just know that you when your child is in pain, you can't do much when you see them crying in the hospital and being stick with a needle. I'm a grown adult. I don't like getting my darn self. So I can only imagine what your child is going through. So I
Yeah.
applaud you guys for the hard work you guys putting in, being great moms and other moms out there, parents who are going through this whole situation. I'm with you guys in the fight as well.
Yeah, that says a lot. Like that really makes me smile because one, it's that awareness, right? And it's not something that she had to push off on you, but you took the step to learn about it yourself. Of course, we have a responsibility to spread awareness, but I mean, I don't want this to like go over into a relationship podcast, but with you taking that step to learn about it, to educate yourself about it, that says a whole lot because sometimes people will be like, well, it doesn't affect me personally, so you know. But to get tested, kudos to you, right? Kudos to you. That's freaking awesome. I like that.
No, he did. He didn't tell me he was going to do it. He told me after the fact. And I was
Yeah.
just floored. I was like, you did that?
So I learned a lot
You
about it.
know?
Like I know there's a trait. Because most men, if you're not educated about sickle cell, you think you're living your life hoopty doopty. But then when situation like this comes in, like if one parents have the risk or odds are greater.
Right,
So
right.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Because like for with me, I was ignorant to a lot of it, right? So my father had sickle cell disease. He had SS. Um, he passed away with leukemia, and I knew that like I struggled with anemia a lot, but didn't know I had the trait. Like didn't know what that meant to have the
Hmm.
trait. And so when I got pregnant with her, that's when they did testing. They said you have the trait, so we need to test your husband as well. And so he had already had some testing and stuff done in the military. And whatever baseline test that they were supposed to be looking at in his military paperwork, it said negative, right? So I'm like, okay, well, we're
Oh.
cool. We're cool. Until, 6, 7 weeks down the road, we need you to bring your child in, then found out she has sickle cell disease. And I'm like, well, how did cuss word could that happen? So then they retested him through the actual hematologist and stuff,
Mm.
and was like, yeah, he
Yeah, he
actually
has
has the
that.
sickle cell trait. And so I truly believe everything happens for a reason. You know, um, I don't I don't drag it out and I don't do a woe unto me type thing, because one of the things that I love and we've talked about this so many times is I'm glad that she's here with Journey of Faith, and how when I was pregnant with her, God had impressed upon my spirit to name her Faith. I didn't know she was going to be born with sickle cell disease. I didn't know she was going to go through everything that she's gone through. And so sometimes I just sit back, because that was May 12th, 1998, when I found out that I was pregnant with her. And a few weeks later, he impressed upon my heart. And I think now, 27 years later, like, you had all this orchestrated, right? You had all this orchestrated. And so, yeah, and here we are now. And she's doing her thing, right? She's doing her thing.
Amen.
So, my next question for the both of you: what are some challenges people don't see or understand about raising a child with sickle cell?
Okay, the daycare that they go to, the
Yep.
school,
Let's talk
that was a
about it.
major problem for me.
Talk about it.
You know, I wanted to have some choice words with some teachers there because, and I see the difference now after we had the event.
Mhm.
There's a huge difference because um, it it's simple things as just allowing them to have water.
Mhm.
People who are unaware of this disease, they don't understand the value of water when it comes to a child that has sickle cell. They need the water. Okay, it prevents their blood from clotting because a lot of people don't understand that with sickle cell their blood cells are white. It's not a normal, you know, oval shape. It's more of a kidney bean, if not maybe a little bit tighter. And once that, you know, gets blockage, it causes pain and a lot of problems with their spleen. If you don't have sickle cell, why would you want to know this? You get what I'm saying? So nobody cares.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we have to care. We have to educate them. And sometimes it's kind of hard explaining your child's needs
Mhm.
to other people, especially as far as the school system. And I did have an issue when Aiden started school, and it was over water. When he first started school, it was a little bit tedious because I had issues with the teachers and I had to kind of explain to them what's going on. And they kind of just, you know, kind of brushed it off a little bit. And I explained to them, you know, because I sent a bottle of water with him every single day. And I said, please, if he asks for the water, just let him have the water. And I was told that they give them water at lunch and at snack, and that's the time when he gets it. And I said, well, he needs a little bit more.
Mhm.
So if he asks for it, because he will,
Mhm.
please just give it to me. And then I was told that I needed to go to the front office and I need to let them know what's going on, which they did. So I ended up having to call his hematologist and explaining the situation to them. And when I tell you, they sent over like a pamphlet like this thick through
Mm.
email, and they basically said, he must get this. You must do this.
Mhm.
If you don't do this, it
Yeah.
will be a problem.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they got that pamphlet, which it also educated them on how to care for a child that has sickle
Yeah.
cell.
Yeah.
And that's how he was able to bring the water to school every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple thing as water
Yeah. Yeah.
was an issue.
Yeah. One of the things that I didn't like, especially as they get older in school, you make them aware of the health issues, because both of my girls were able to get an IEP because of other health issues. I don't know if it's still like that in school, where if they need to go to the restroom more often than others, or if they need to take a break more often than others, then they can have that availability to do so under their IEP.
I'm sure I'm probably going to be going through a lot. I don't know, once they get to elementary school, it's probably going to be a different ball game.
Kind of like one of
Uh,
the things that, like, whatever packet they gave you for him in pre-K, you want that to follow him, because a few things, like you said, water is already important. But when they go out for recess, if it's high temperatures, he doesn't need to be out because of heat exhaustion and stuff like
correct.
that. So, in any symptoms that's associated with SS, like, they need to be aware, because when Kayla had her first stroke, right, I didn't know she was having a stroke. So she was five, 5 or 6. And the teacher called me and she said, I'm just giving you a call because Kayla's falling asleep in class. I'm like, well, she shouldn't be falling asleep. She went to sleep on time last night. And it was like, yeah, she's.
What was that? Her story is similar.
Hmm?
Her story is similar when she was younger. Remember telling me when you had your first crisis and they didn't know that you were having a crisis
Oh, yeah,
at
same
school?
story. Same story. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wait. Am I missing something?
No, my first stroke.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
she daughter. That's
wait.
his daughter, right?
Uh huh.
That's what I'm missing. I didn't know.
Oh,
That's why I'm like, she had the same story. Tell her your story. That's why I'm
that's
like,
your daughter.
why are you eating? Tell her your story.
Stop
Oh
eating and
my
tell
god!
her. It would be like,
I didn't know.
you know what? Because I didn't introduce myself like that. I sure didn't. My bad.
Oh, I thought.
She said her girls. I think this is your girl.
Yeah, I guess we forgot to mention that part.
Here looking crazy.
Then you know
I'm
your
like,
daughter.
talk up, stop eating. Tell your story. And
I
you're
thought she
looking
was
at me
talking like
like,
I thought
wait,
she was a guest,
what?
a guest like her.
It is, like, really important to get IEP, for your children if they have sickle cell anemia or any actually health condition, so that the teachers are aware of what their needs are, and also so they're protected, because sometimes children will need extra water breaks. Sometimes they'll need extra study
Breastfeeding.
time, or they can't be outside for extended amounts of time in the heat and things like that. And so that also helps you to bring awareness, to the teachers, because there will be other students that come along the way who have health concerns. And when we say that it takes a village, it truly does take a village. So everywhere that we go as parents with children of sickle cell, we have to be sure that we are spreading awareness.
Each child symptoms are different. I'm not sure about SS, but in regards to SC, um, Aiden, he cannot withstand the cold.
Mm-hmm.
Cold water is a major thing. It will cause clotting and other issues. Um, I think in his little body, he doesn't know what's going on, but he knows the water should be a certain temperature, and he will
Right.
tell you.
That's good.
So I am very mindful of that. As simple things as, if it's cold in the house and I know I'm going to give him a bath, I'll turn up the heat to make sure the room is warm when he gets out the
Right.
shower.
Right. Right.
If we go to the beach or we put up the inflatable water slide, I know once he gets out, I have to dry him off immediately. I rush him into the bathroom, give him a shower, warm him up immediately. He can't sit in damp
Right.
clothes
Right.
because that can potentially cause a crisis.
Right. Right.
What are your hopes and dreams? Well, I guess this would be for Miss Samantha. What are your hopes and dreams for Aiden for the future?
To be rid of sickle cell, but to be strong if he's not able to get rid of it. To be strong. And one thing I teach my kids is to be self sufficient. And we have affirmations that we say every morning. As far as it's simple words of affirmation. I'm a leader. I'm strong. I'm smart. I'm handsome. I'm beautiful. These little affirmations mean a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
It starts that small. And sometimes, hey, I'll may forget to say it, and they'll be like, "Mommy, words of affirmation." I'm like, "All right,
I
well, look
love
at
it. I
you."
love it. I love it.
But just encouraging him to know that he can do anything that he wants to do in his lifetime.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you that you're weak, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough. you push through, you fight, and you can accomplish anything in this world. So that's pretty much my thing for Aiden, to be strong and to um, do his research. That's another big thing for me. I tell my 21-year-old, don't go by word of mouth. You hear something, and if it intrigues you and you want to know more about it, don't just go based off of what that one person is telling you. Research it for yourself, because you may develop a different perspective about whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just to be him and to be strong.
Yeah. I think, and even though you posed this
Yeah.
just to Miss Samantha, right? I still have hopes, dreams, and aspirations for you and your sister as well, because you're not done living,
Yeah.
right? And I think one of the things that I think that you have already just taken hold of is that your condition does not define you, right? That's something that you took on very early. And I pray that you'll continue to take that on for the rest of your life. And I love, of course, if you guys have watched any of the other podcasts from Kayla, she talks about her SS as her superpower. And it's not her sickle cell anemia, but it's her strength through her struggles. So that's what my hope is for both of you, that you'll take on, it's almost like a badge of honor, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to start getting emotional because, sometimes I'm a bit of a sap.
She's amazing. She got this. You and your sister, because you
Yes.
got that amazing mama right there.
Well, yeah, just continue to be the great women that you are, and know that you can achieve and do anything. And your condition does not dictate your conclusion.
Correct.
Love that.
Correct.
What would you want the next mother, excuse me, that is raising a sickle cell warrior to know? Well, how would you help them out?
Sorry, don't trust the doctors. Research everything for yourself. Don't listen to them. Now, I'm not saying that's for everything, but research holistic ways to treat yourself or your child or a family member, whoever it is. Always get a second opinion.
Yeah.
That's the only, and just don't be afraid to speak up. It's okay if you have questions. No question is a stupid question. You have them, you ask them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Definitely what she said. I would also encourage a new mom to get into community, right? Find your tribe, find your circle, because there's going to be days where you're going to need somebody to lean on, you're going to need somebody to talk to. And when you have someone who has a similar story or who knows, it makes it a little bit easier, because
Yeah.
having someone to understand what you're going through, sometimes that's all you need.
It's hard.
So, yeah. So find your community, find your tribe, make sure you're part of people who can understand.
We
I can't
got
come
you.
across the
We
table.
got you.
Uh,
What you said is very right, because I didn't do that.
yeah,
I didn't find a community. I didn't. There was nobody to talk to about this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was nobody. The last time Ada was hospitalized was the longest. It was a week, and it was just him and I. I quit my corporate job because Aiden is in and out of the hospital, and I found myself at a point where I'm at the hospital with him. I have my laptop. I'm trying to work while they're having IVs and all these different doctors are coming in. And I'm like, I can't work like this, And I try to explain to my job, and they're just like, oh, you got to be here. You got to do this. And I quit.
Yeah.
And I started working for myself, because I'm like, his health comes first.
Right.
Nobody's going to tell me that I have to work over taking care of my son. And it's like you feel like you're by yourself. And sometimes the doctors coming in, they can be very intimidating, because there was a point where they brought the infectious disease doctor.
Mhm.
You know how that makes a mom feel?
Been through that. Yeah.
and they couldn't tell me what was spiking his fevers.
Yeah.
That's the thing with him. When he gets sick, um, he doesn't get normal fevers. His highest fever was 105.6. That boy was roasting. He was roasting. And I felt like I didn't know what to do. You know, like our background is Jamaican. And with Jamaicans, when a child has a fever, the first thing they tell you, put him in the ice water. That's what my dad was telling me. And I'm like, are you crazy? He has sickle cell. I can't put him in, ice water. So it's just like you're left to kind of fend for yourself because you're going off what the doctors are saying, and you want to trust them, and you want to believe that they know what they're talking about. But at the same time, they gave him 3 different antibiotics, and none of it would work.
Yeah.
So it's like all that's left is for me to pray, and that's what I did. I prayed. I in that hospital room with them by myself was torture.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. I can understand that because for the children, right, at school, they get, what's wrong with you? You're always in and out of the hospital. And for the parents, we're going to a job, they get, your child is sick again,
That's what I was saying.
right? Like, what's wrong with your child? Like,
Yeah.
is she really in the hospital again? Because if people don't understand it, sometimes they think you got to be lying. Ain't nobody in the hospital that much.
Correct.
When, yeah, actually, in fact, they are. But when you have people that understand, it helps them to carry that load or to share that. I don't want to use the word burden, but to share that load.
I say experience is a better word, or
Yeah, yeah. To sharing that experience. Um, because sometimes you don't understand until you understand. You have to go through it, and
Hmm.
I wish
so.
like there was companies or bosses that could walk a mile in our shoes.